We are entrusting the day and the endeavor to the Lord. Let's go. Welcome to my channel where I visit many good books but live in the Bible. My name is Sarah Christine, and today I want to talk about True Grit by Charles Portis. I picked up True Grit in college after I had already seen the film in my high school AP US history class, and I will admit, after seeing the film, which I had enjoyed, I was a bit reluctant to go back to the source material because after we had finished watching the film, my teacher asked the class, okay, well, what's the heart of the story? And everyone made guesses, and then finally he was like, it's a love story. And I'll never forget it. There was a girl who sat directly across from me, and she was like, ah, I see. Meanwhile, there was me like, I don't, because Maddie, our lead lady, is 14 years old. Meanwhile, the main male lead is close to 50. So I was like, my enjoyment of the story was put on ice. Let's put it that way. But then when I was in college, I became a Christian, and when I rewatched the film, I recognized the hymn that it opens with, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms, which the church that it baptized me would sing pretty frequently. And at that point, I was like, okay, I gotta read the story. And I am so glad I did, because True Grit is one of my all-time favorite reads. In fact, when I was rereading this so I could do the review with it fresh in my mind, the moment I finished, I went back to the beginning and reread it 6 freaking times because it is a delight to be in Maddie's mind. To give you an idea of what Maddie is like, I'll read the first paragraph. People do not give it credence that a 14-year-old girl could leave home and go off in the wintertime to avenge her father's blood, but it did not seem so strange then, although I will say it did not happen every day. I was just 14 years of age when a coward going by the name of Tom Cheney shot my father down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and robbed him of his life and his horse and $150 in cash money plus 2 California gold pieces that he carried in his trouser band. And Maddie is going to ensure that justice is had. A brief summary of True Grit. This story follows our aforementioned Maddie as she heads into the wilderness of the Choctaw Nation with her trusty $18 steed, Little Blackie, along with a one-eyed, grumpy marshal who likes to pull a cork. Fill your hand, you son of a bitch! And a Texas Ranger who is a bit of a dandy named LaBee.
Saucy line will not get you far with me.
As they all set out to capture Tom Cheney. I have to say, this book is hilarious. Like the scene where Maddie first meets LaBeef, who himself has been trying to find Tom Cheney, and Maddie just like straight up asks him basically, how is it that you, Texas Ranger, have been evaded so long by a half-wit? Yeah, that scene is just chef's kiss. Additionally, there is so much detail in True Grit that makes you feel as if you are in the Wild West, from the corn dodgers to the horseshoeing to the kind of incongruous outlaw courteousness that sees murderous bandits complimenting Maddie's penmanship. Like, what is going on? But beyond the hilarity and the realism of True Grit, the true heart and heroine of the story is Maddie. And I have no idea how Charles Portis, who was in his 30s at the time, managed to capture the voice of a 14-year-old girl with an indomitable will, a tongue like a whip.
And feudal Marshal Cogburn pursuit would be feudal, not spelled F-U-D-E-L.
And the 3 necessary conditions of leadership. And what, you may ask, are the 3 necessary conditions of leadership? Well, I would contend the first is that a person sees the mission clearly. They have a vision for what needs to be done. Second, they say the buck stops with me. Not just they can see what needs to be done, but they say, and I am willing to do it. And then third, they say, and I am willing to take a hit for the team. Not just I can see what needs to be done, not just I'm willing to do it, but I'm willing to undergo some stuff in order to accomplish the mission. And you don't just have to take those 3 conditions from me. I can appeal to other sources. For instance, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Talents for condition 1, the necessity of seeing the mission clearly, because we are told in Parable of the Talents, When vision fails, direction is lost. When direction is lost, purpose may be forgotten. When purpose is forgotten, emotion rules alone. When emotion rules alone, destruction. Where if you do not have vision, if you do not see clearly, the end of that course will be destruction. That is not what you want in a leader. So they need to see the mission clearly. For conditions 2 and 3, the buck stops with me and they're willing to take a hit for the team. I would appeal to the theosophist Annie Besant, who wrote in her autobiography that plenty of people wish well to any good cause, but very few are willing to exert themselves to help it, and fewer still are willing to risk anything in its support. Someone ought to do it, but why should I? Is the ever re-echoed phrase of weak need amiability. But someone ought to do it, so why not I? Is the cry of some earnest servant of man eagerly forward springing to face some perilous duty. In Annie Besant's quotation, we see again conditions 2 and 3, where you need to say, the buck stops with me. It's not just that you're, oh yeah, wishing well to any good cause, and then you're willing to take a hit for the team. You got to be willing to risk something in support of the good cause. So yeah, you don't have to take it from me. You can take it from well-respected ladies of ages gone by, that it's important for a leader to see the mission clearly, to say, the buck stops with me, and to be willing to take a hit for the team. And that is our girl Maddie. And I can prove it. On page 85, Maddie is having a conversation with Rooster Cogburn, that one-eyed grumpy marshal who she is trying to get as her guide and strong right arm in corralling Tom Chaney back to Fort Smith and justice. And she asks Rooster, are you still game? Game. I was born game, sis, and I hope to die in that condition. How long will it take you to get ready to go? Ready to go where? To the territory, to the Indian Territory, to get Tom Chaney, the man who shot my father, Frank Ross, in front of the Monarch boarding house. I forget just what our agreement was. I offered to pay you $50 for the job. Yes, I remember that now. What did I say to that? You said your price was $100. That's right. I remember now. Well, that's what it still is. It will take $100. All right. Count it out there on the table. First, I will have an understanding. Can we leave for the territory this afternoon? He sat up in bed. Wait, he said. Hold up. You are not going. That is part of it, said I. It cannot be done. And why not? You have misjudged me if you think I am silly enough to give you $100 and watch you right away. No, I will see the thing done myself. I am a bonded U.S. Marshal. That weighs but little with me. R.B. Hayes is the U.S. President, and they say he stole Tilden out. You never said anything about this. I cannot go up against Ned Pepper's band and try to look after a baby one and the same time. I am not a baby. You will not have to worry about me. You will slow me down and get in my way. I will not slow you down. I am a good enough rider. I will not be stopping at boarding houses with warm beds and plates of hot grub on the table. It will be traveling fast and eating light. What little sleeping is done will take place on the ground. I have slept out at night. Papa took me and little Frank coon hunting last summer on the Petit Jean. Coon hunting? We were out in the woods all night. We sat around a big fire and Yarno told ghost stories. We had a good time. Blast coon hunting. This ain't no coon hunt. It don't come in 40 miles of being a coon hunt. It is the same idea as a coon hunt. You are just trying to make your work sound harder than it is. Forget coon hunting. I am telling you that where I am going is no place for a shirt-tail kid. That is what they said about coon hunting. Also Fort Smith. Yet here I am. The first night out, you will be taken on and crying for your mama. I said, I have left off crying and giggling as well. Now make up your mind. I don't care anything for all this talk. You told me what your price for the job was, and I have come up with it. Here is the money. I aim to get Tom Chaney, and if you are not game, I will find somebody who is game. As we can see, Maddie sees the mission clearly. She's like, I know what we're doing. We are going to the territory, to the Indian Territory, to get Tom Chaney, the man who shot my father, Frank Ross, in front of the Monarch boarding house. She's like, I know what we got to do. The question on the table is, are you game? Because Maddie certainly is. Upon first meeting him, so several pages prior, on the steps of the courthouse, Maddie introduces herself to Rooster and is saying, like, I'm trying to procure some help to go after this man. And Rooster notices she's got like a gun in a bag at her waist. And so Maddie pulls it out and Rooster goes, by God, said he, a Colt's Dragoon. Why, you are no bigger than a corn nubbin. What are you doing with that pistol? And Maddie said, "It belonged to my father. I intend to kill Tom Chaney with it if the law fails to do so." "Well, that piece'll do the job if you can find a high stump to rest it on while you take aim and shoot. Nobody here knew my father, and I am afraid nothing much is going to be done about Chaney except I do it myself. My brother is a child and my mother's people are in Monterey, California. My grandfather Ross is not able to ride." Maddie's like, "Listen, I am prepared to handle this guy. The buck is going to stop with me. I see the value of having some help, but I am willing to do this job myself." And more than that, Maddie is willing to take a hit for the team when she has a conversation with this poor auctioneer, Colonel Stonehill, Maddie's a tough trader, and that's some of the best parts of the book are the interactions she has sort of trading with him, haggling over prices. So
do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Read it for those moments. They're excellent. But after she has had several interactions with him and he knows her mettle, they have a conversation about what she's planning to do. And she tells him about how, I'm going after Tom Chaney, the man who shot my father, and I have enlisted the help of Rooster Cogburn, this marshal. And Stonehill, who knows of Cogburn, is like, he's not a very good guy. And Maddie's like, "They say he has grit," said I. "I wanted a man with grit." "Yes, I suppose he has that. He is a notorious thumper. He is not a man I should care to share a bed with." "No more would I. Report has it that he rode by the light of the moon with Quantrell and Bloody Bill Anderson. I would not trust him too much. I have heard, too, that he was particeps criminis in some road agent work before he came here and attached himself to the courthouse." "He is to be paid when the job is done," said I. "I have given him a token payment for expenses, and he is to receive the balance when we have taken our man. I am paying a good fee of $100. "Yes, a splendid inducement. Well, perhaps it will all work out to your satisfaction. I shall pray that you return safely, your efforts crowned with success. It may prove to be a hard journey." "The good Christian does not flinch from difficulties." "Neither does he rashly court them. The good Christian is not willful or presumptuous." "You think I am wrong." "I think you are wrong-headed." "We will see." "Yes, I'm afraid so." We can see there that Stonehill is painting a sort of grim picture, not only of how difficult the task will be, but also of the man that Maddie has chosen for assistance and company. But Maddie's like, "Listen, I know it's going to be hard, but I am willing to take a hit for the team." And that is because she loves her father and she wants justice for him. I mentioned this, I think, in my Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review, but I think it warrants bringing up again because I saw an interview with the late theologian Jürgen Moltmann that he did for Yale Divinity School, where he said, God's wrath is his wounded love. And that is what Maddie is experiencing in this book. The wrath she has towards Tom Chaney is because she loved her father. And so the fact that this man murdered him has awakened the Kraken. And because of that, she is not flinching from difficulties, not flinching from the danger that is probably going to accompany a journey into the wild west of the Choctaw Nation in pursuit of a man who would have no qualms about killing a little kid. And Maddie is like, I do not care. I am willing to take the hit. As it happens, Maddie and her compadres take more than a few hits, but she is able to bear up under them, which actually is relevant because in that same conversation that she had with Stonehill, he sort of is bemoaning the fact that he's been bleeding money since coming to Arkansas, and he's like, I am amazed that people can bear up and carry on under these repeated blows. There is no end to them. And when I was on my fourth reread of this book to do this video, that line stuck out to me as Maddie and team endure several hits. And Maddie in particular, I think, gets kind of the worst of it. And that question of how is she able to bear up under these seeming unending blows? And I was like, I know. The source of her endurance, her strength, her grit is again the same thing that caused her to pursue Tom Chaney to begin with. And it's love. Like we are told In 2 Corinthians 5:14, the love of Christ compels us. The love Mattie had for her father is what keeps her in her seat when things are not exactly going well. She's like, I am not going to bail. I am taking multiple hits, but I am sticking with it. And if you want another example of how love will keep someone in their seat even after repeated blows, I would point you to Kung Fu Panda and the wonderful Po. Because when Master Shifu is trying to get Po to quit, Po's response is,
Don't worry, Master, I will never quit!
and why is he unwilling to quit? Well, as he told his dad at the beginning of the film,
I love Kung Fu!
it is a love that makes someone persist through challenges and difficulties. And I know I said at the beginning that there are 3 necessary conditions of leadership, that you see the vision clearly. You say, the buck stops with me, and you say, I'm willing to take a hit for the team. But I would add to that, because you can have vision and say, the buck stops with me, and be willing to take a hit for the team, and be a terrorist. Like, you can be someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm willing to take a hit. In fact, I'm willing to blow myself up for the team. And those folks may be leaders, but on top of the fact they are bad, they do not last. I talked about this in my Beast of No Nation review, but the end of such leaders is death. They take a blow and they go. They do not come back. Leaders who love, though, are different. And the best example we have of this is Jesus, because we are told in John 12:27-28 that Jesus prays in the garden before his crucifixion, saying, and now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say, Father? Save me from this hour? No, because it is for this very reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify thy name. In that prayer, we see that Jesus sees the mission clearly. He knows what is coming, that the cross is on the horizon. 2, he's saying the buck stops with me. He knows that there is no one else who could pay the penalty. And 3, he's willing to take a hit for the team. He is willing to undergo not just crucifixion, but separation from God as the wrath of the Father is poured out on him, the Son. Jesus was willing to take a hit for the team, but unlike terrorists who take a blow and then they go, like they are not coming back, that is not the case with our Lord of life. Jesus does not fold under repeated blows, and neither do we. If we are in Christ, we are told in John 11:25, Jesus is the resurrection and the life, and whoever believes in him, even if he dies, will live, and whoever lives and believes in him will never die. So yeah, loving leadership can sometimes require death, but if you have love, death is not the end, because we are told in 1 John 4:16 that God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God in him. If you want to have the capacity to not just take a hit, but to persist through repeated blows and come back from it, you need Jesus, because Jesus is our resurrected Lord of life, a leader for all times and all time. And if you abide in him, you will be able to take countless hits, because Jesus took an infinite hit and came back from it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this was edifying, encouraging, and entertaining, and I hope that you'll continue to join me as I visit many good books, but live in the Bible. Now I'm just thinking of like animated movies and Jesus, and you know what's a good one? Mulan. Because when Mushu is like, I am the powerful, the pleasurable, the indestructible Mushu, I'm like, you know, Jesus is Mushu on steroids, because he is all powerful, all pleasurable, and indestructible.